Hallelujah, hear the angels sing. Spread the good news of the newborn King. Glory, hallelujah, hear the angels sing. Gloria. Glory, hallelujah, hear the angels sing. Spread the good news of the newborn King. Glory, hallelujah, hear the angels sing. Gloria. Singing, glory.
Great job. I got out of breath just listening to you. Very good. You're going to need to sing that one again this season, all right? Just not today. I hear you. Oh, we are in a series called The Gifts of Christmas. The Gifts of Christmas. I started it last week, and we're going to pick it up today. I told you that I actually got this idea and heard this sermon series from John Maxwell some 25 years ago. And so I've come back to it this season, and we talked last week about a gift worth giving, talked about the Magi, the wise men who came and visited, and today we're going to talk about a gift worth receiving, a gift worth receiving. Luke chapter 2 and verse 21 is where we'll read in just a second, okay? These are simple sermons. We're not trying to get too deep theologically. They're practical, something that you can take home with you. And so this morning, I'm going to read just the first 4 verses, and then we'll get into the sermon topic this morning. Luke 2, verse 21. And when 8 days were completed before his circumcision, his name was then called Jesus, the name given by the angel before he was conceived in the womb. And when the days for their purification, according to the law of Moses, were completed, they brought him up to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord. As it is written in the law of the Lord, every firstborn male that opens the womb shall be called holy to the Lord. And to offer a sacrifice according what was said in the law of the Lord, a pair of turtle doves or 2 young pigeons. I'm going to stop right there, but we'll get into some more reading in just a second. I want to introduce to you 3 Jewish traditions. These are things that Jewish ceremonies, the little biblical background of what's going on here. Okay, every Jewish male went through 3 ancient type ceremonies, and that's what's happening here. Jesus was a Jewish male, the firstborn, so he goes through this. This applies to him. First of all, there was the circumcision, okay? Let's talk about those. The circumcision. Every Jewish male was to be circumcised. It was so sacred and so important that even if that 8th day fell on the Sabbath, they went ahead with it. Those of you who've done any study of the Bible, you know the Jews did very, very little on a Sabbath. I mean, there were restrictions on everything, but the circumcision was so important to the Jewish people and such an important rite that even if it fell on that day, they went ahead with it, okay? It says in verse 21, and when the 8 days were completed before his circumcision, another thing happens here. His name was then called Jesus, the name given to him by the angel before he was conceived in the womb. Notice it says, then he was named Jesus. So when the time of circumcision came, that is when the child was named, 8 days after birth. Now, you and I are accustomed to having a name before we leave the hospital, right? I mean, we thought about it for 9 months. We're leading up to this, but they didn't name the child officially until that 8th day, the day of circumcision. We know that the name was given to Mary long before this, even before her conception. She has said, she was told by the angel, his name shall be called Jesus because he will save the world from their sins. So the 8th day has come. It's circumcision, name giving. But then there's a second rite ceremony that happens, and that is the redemption of the firstborn. That's in verse 22, when the days for their purification according to the law of Moses were completed. They brought him up to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord. And what went into that? As is written in the law of the Lord, every firstborn male that opens the womb shall be called holy to the Lord. This term, redemption of the firstborn, may be a new term for you, so let's talk about it a little bit. It is speaking exclusively again of the male child. The firstborn male child in a Jewish family was very important. The firstborn male literally belonged to God. Now, we think of dedicating our children here, and we do this. You bring them down to the front. We say some words. We encourage you. Bring them to the altar. And the idea is I dedicate this to the Lord. But our ceremony is really about the parents, right? It's really about them dedicating themselves to raising that child and all this. But the firstborn male is accepted in Jewish tradition. That male was God's. So what would happen is they'd bring that baby boy down to the temple and come in to see the priest. And this was not done before the 31st day. So the child has to be at least a month old. So they bring this month-old baby down to the temple and they give this offering. And symbolically, they are purchasing this child back from God. That is literally what is symbolically happening there, okay? Now, so this is not a large offering. It has nothing to do with the value of the offering. It is all about the symbolic of that. So they were firstborn male. Jesus is brought for the family to purchase back. So we got circumcision, we've got the redemption of the firstborn, and then we have purification after childbirth. This is why Marian is here, and she comes to the temple, and she is introduced to this guy. We're going to see Simeon, okay? When Joseph and Simeon were brought Jesus, when Joseph and Simeon, when Joseph and Mary brought Jesus, they were going through a purification ceremony. This was to happen after 40 days. The mother of a child was not to have anything to do with religious ceremonies. She could not come to the temple for the first 40 days. She would basically stay at home. She would stay at home, stay away, but on the 40th day or soon thereafter, they would bring this child. If it was a female child, it would happen on the 80th day, okay? So that's the difference. It's just the Jewish background, okay? So after 40 days, they bring these symbols of a burnt offering. They would bring a burnt offering and a sin offering, so there'd be a couple of them there. We don't do any of that today, of course, but they would bring a lamb and then usually a young pigeon or a dove. But the law afforded for a pour offering. A pour offering, some families couldn't afford to give a lamb away, so they would actually be able to give 2 turtle doves or able to give 2 pigeons or whatever it is. They could give to them. So that's what Mary does. She has little money. She brings a pour offering. So they are in this temple on this occasion for that reason, for the redemption of the firstborn and for purification of Mary. The circumcision had already happened earlier, so they come in. Now, I just felt that was important for you to know why they're there. That is where Simeon comes into play. He's an old priest. He's been hanging around there for years and years. And I'll be honest with you, his interaction with the Lord is one that gets overlooked sometimes. And I hate that because it's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorites. I am a huge fan of Simeon. So today what we're going to do, we're going to do 5 observations of Simeon when he saw the Christ child, what was going on in his life, what was his attitude about this, and then what happens, okay? Because we're going to see that he saw that child as a gift worth receiving, a gift worth receiving. So the first observation when I look at Simeon in verse 25 is that those who look for Jesus, whether it happened in the time of Joseph and Simeon's life or it happens 2,000 years later in First Baptist Church, Pickensville, those who look for Jesus will find him. They will find him. Look at verse 25. And behold, there was a man in Jerusalem whose name was Simeon. And this man was righteous and devout. Now notice this, looking for the consolation of Israel, and the Holy Spirit was upon him. That word looking is a good one. It doesn't mean like you're going down the road and you see a cow and you just give a cow a look and you keep going. This has intent in it. It has purpose in it. It is looking, searching with confidence, with patience. There is intention in it. He was on a search. That is the way we would think about it, with a sense of anticipation about what he's going to see. Henry David Thoreau said that many an object is not seen, though it falls within the range of the visual eye. What he means by that, and he goes on to talk about it, is that many things are not seen with the intellectual eye, therefore they're not seen with the physical eye. It can be in front of us, but we don't. How true is that? Have you ever just bumped right into somebody? Maybe you're in a supermarket, whatever, and you just bump right into somebody that you know, right? And you just did not see them. You didn't see them at all. I do it sometimes in the hall. Here at church, I'll get something on my mind. I'm walking down the hall. Oh, hey, why is that? Because we weren't looking for them, for one thing. Our mind is preoccupied with something else. We're just somewhere else mentally. All I'm saying is that Simeon saw Jesus because he's looking for him, because he was looking for him. We see what we're looking for. We see what we're looking for. I'm here to tell you this morning, guys, if you're looking for God, you're going to find him. I have people all the time, I'm just searching. Listen, God is always open to the searching heart and the searching mind. He is always open to that. And it is all about our attitude, the way we perceive what's going on in our life. It's the reason that two people can come to a service like this on a Sunday morning, and one of them will leave and say, oh my goodness, what a blessing. God just spoke to me, and I feel such conviction about this. I feel such direction about that. I feel peace about this. And another person can walk out and say, that wasn't worth my time. It's all in the way that they see it. One was looking for God and the other one was not. This is best illustrated with a comparison. So when you notice the comparison is that I want to compare what Simeon saw. Simeon saw Christ. Bethlehem missed him. I know in 33 years I've preached there's no room in the end, okay? Something along those lines. But I want to kind of revisit that subject right now to look at the contrast. Simeon was intently looking for the Christ child. But the attitude in Bethlehem is totally different. They had no room for him in the inn. They had no time for him in their life. There are four probable reasons, okay? Let's just throw them out there. I'm going to do these quickly. Probably because they were busy. They were busy. People were running here and there, rushing all around. There's a census to be taken. There's heads to be counted. And I've got to get this done as quickly as I can and get back to the house. All this busyness and all this rush. No wonder there was no room for him in Bethlehem. Can you identify with this around the Christmas season? Huh? That you just get going here and there and somebody, even doing the Lord's work, even doing things. I get so much going on in my life, Stacy and I especially. There's sermons and parties and musicals and just this and that. It's always something. And we can get so wrapped up in even the godly things that we don't look and see him, that we don't see him. The reason that we're celebrating all of this. Another thing that kept on, probably preoccupation. They had other plans. They had other things to think about. Their mind was on preoccupation, so they missed him. A third thing would be inconvenience. It just wasn't a good time. I promise you this, if that innkeeper would have known that the Christ could have been born in his hotel room, he would have found room for him. If nothing else, he'd have kicked this family out. He said, wife, kids, y'all go sleep in the manger. Jesus is going to be born in this house. You talk about promoting something. In the Northeast, you can go to these hotels and they'll say, George Washington slept here. Can you imagine this guy's profit margin? If he could say, the Christ child was born here. The mother of God slept here. The Son of God. Man, but you know what? It wasn't convenient. It wasn't convenient. I'll tell you, how it is, and you don't see this much anymore these days, is that I remember I've traveled a lot in my secular work, and I remember years ago, this is before the internet and all these kind of things, there were all these mom and pop hotels and motels that were on the sides of the roads, right? You could just be driving. I remember one distinctly in North Carolina for some reason, because I stopped in there and a guy had a fishing seat mounted on top of his dog box, and that's how he deer hunted. He would ride the roads and sit in that chair. That's how he deer hunted. But anyway, that's a side point. But I remember stopping in there. But these mom and pops, well, they had a vacancy, no vacancy sign, right? They would turn that thing on and off. If they had room for you, the vacancy would be on, and then they would go to no vacancy. Well, what would happen, though, is about, 10 o'clock at night or something like that, that light would go on no vacancy. And it had nothing, they had plenty of rooms, but the mom and pops didn't have any staff. And it was time for them to go to bed, okay? So what would they do? No vacancy. They had room, just wasn't convenient. They didn't want anybody ringing that bell or pushing that button, waking them up and interrupting them. We can be like that. How many times have we ever done that to Jesus? It's not that we just flip up that no vacancy. It's not because we didn't want to have time with him. It's just not right now. It's not a good time. The last one in this group is being no expectations. You see, unlike Simeon, who expected to see the Christ child, who looked for his coming at Bethlehem, there was no expectation. Do you know anybody whose expector has expired? Whose expector has expired? It happens to us around Christmas because we get older and we lose that magical sense of Christmas. We lose that mystical aspect. And we kind of gloss over the fact that a virgin gave birth to a baby, that a star appeared and pulled men from the east over to see the Christ child, that an angel group stood and sang a choir song to the shepherds in the field. And we just kind of, it becomes textbook to us. No expectations. Your expector expires. And let me tell you something. If you expect nothing, you will get nothing. I read about a South African miner who discovered at the time the largest diamond in the world. It was larger than a lemon. I mean, it was a big old diamond. Well, how do you get that thing back to London was his worry. I mean, this thing needed to be protected. So he hired 4 strong men, put it in a steel box, and shipped it. And they took it there. Well, it gets to the London office, and they open up that steel box, and it's empty. There's no diamond in there. So they get kind of panicky. But the next day in the parcel post, in a plain wrapper, that thing shows up in the mail. That guy who found it, he says, they will be looking for 4 men carrying a steel box. They won't be looking for a plain brown wrapper. I think about that, and I think that 2,000 years ago, God wrapped Jesus, his son, in an ordinary box. And the kings and the politicians and the lawyers and the judges and the businessmen and the businesswomen did not see him. But Simeon saw him. Why? Because he was looking for him. Because he was looking for him. That's the reason the good news this morning is if you are looking for God today, you can find him. I have never met anybody who's sent on a sincere search for God that didn't find him. In your B here, let's talk about looking lessons that help us to see God. Looking lessons that help us to see God. Do a little experiment right here. I want you to look around the room and find something red. Okay? Look, this is proper today. You can turn around and look to the back of the church. I know sometimes something happens behind you, like I can't look back, I can't look back. You can look back, okay? Find something red. Do you see it? Now that I've got your mind on something red, you see it everywhere, don't you? Even when I'm doing this and preaching this, as soon as I said I'm going to show you something red, I see it everywhere. Why is that? Because I focused on the color red. It was not really important to my vision at that time, but now I see it everywhere. It's the same way you buy a car. Oh, I got a unique color. There's nothing like that. You're driving it home, you see a half dozen on the road, right? Why? Were they not on the interstate then? Yeah, they were, but you didn't see them, okay? You are now in tune visually to see that. There's actually a phrase for that. It's Bader-Meinhof syndrome or phenomenon. That's what they call it, phenomenon. That's exactly what happened to Simeon. There were lots of people in that temple that day, but only he was in tune with the Spirit of God. 2 lessons about this. Look through the eyes of faith and not through the eyes of fact, okay? Simeon looked through faith eyes. 2 kinds of people, when I see it, I'll believe it. Simeon says, I believe it, so I'm going to see it. But a second thing is to keep looking even when you're discouraged. Even when you're discouraged. Something that I admire about Simeon, and you and I can't capture this in just a casual reading of this, but why do I say Simeon was discouraged? I want you to know for 400 years leading up to the birth of Christ, 400 years. We're about to celebrate 250 years in this country. So much longer than our country has even existed. For 400 years, there had not been a prophet in Israel. There had been nobody to come and say, hey, remember to keep looking for the Messiah. Remember, he's been promised he's going to come. Nobody warning you. Get your heart ready for the Messiah's coming. 400 years of silence. And then you have of silence. And then you have Simeon saying, I'm going to see that. I'm going to see that Messiah. I'm going to see him. You talk about determination to get through discouragement. Man. All right, we're going to move to the second observation. And I promise you the other four are not going to take as long as the first one, okay? Does that make you feel better? Some of you are thinking, I'm going to miss lunch. All right, here we go. Second one is that God will tell you what to look for if you will listen. Verse 26, why did he see? And it had been revealed to him. He had been told by the Holy Spirit that he would not see death before he had seen the Lord's Christ. God is not about playing hide and seek with you. He wants you to find him. He wants you to see him. It is the reason that he paints the evening sky so beautiful. It is the reason that he makes a baby's cry contagious. It is the reason why he plants a consciousness within you. It is the reason why he has put you here this morning. Because he wants you to find him. He wants you to know him. If you're here seeking this morning, some of you are here seeking this morning. And I know there are other things going on in your life, but this has been something that's been nagging on you. Even though you've not yet found him, inwardly you know that your time is near. Inwardly you know that it is time for me to get this settled and get this right. You know that God's been calling you, but you tried to ignore it, but you can't. Well, what will my wife say? What will my husband say? What will my friends say? You know about that, but all you can think is, I know what God's telling me. I know what he's leading me, and he's saying today's the day. Third observation, he came to the right place to find him. Simeon came to the right place, not only to find the Christ child, but to receive the Christ child. And it came, what? In the Spirit into the temple. He came in the Spirit with the right heart, the right mind. Are you listening to me? He came with the right heart, with the right mind. And he came to the right place, to the place of worship, to the temple. You put those two things together, you will have the right attitude and the right spirit. You're going to see God when you come to church. See, the church exists. I'm going to give you three primary reasons. Just a little side note here in my sermon, okay? The church exists, first of all, for the Father, because it's a worship center. We come here to worship him, to lift up praises, a song to him. Choir singing that song, us singing the choruses. It's part of the work. It is a worship center. It exists for the Father, but it also exists for each other. It's a nurturing center. It's for you and for me, a place of received nurturing, a place that we grow together. It's the reason the Bible tells us in Hebrews 10:25, do not forsake the assembling of yourselves together. To encourage each other to grow, but it's also for the world. It is a redemption center. It is a place where those that are lost can find forgiveness, a place to be redeemed and brought into the family of God. Oh my goodness. Listen, we are not a perfect church. We are not. The phrase perfect church is a unicorn anyway. It doesn't exist. It's a mythical thing, okay? It's a mythical thing. There is no perfect church. But in my opinion, guys, you're going to have to look hard to find a better church, okay? Let's put it that way. Because we have people that appreciate good teaching and preaching, caring people that give liberally, people who are good folks, spiritual, down to heart, warm people. It is a wonderful, wonderful place. Understand this about church, guys. It is a place where you're hurting or you're seeking or you're looking. Like Simeon, it is the place to be if you want to feel God and see God and find God. Number 4, he personally received Jesus. I'll be honest with you, this is kind of emotional me when I read. Then he took him to his arms and he blessed God. Can you imagine the feeling in Simeon's heart? This guy had been waiting on this moment and wrapped in a baby too. That's what amazing, right? That the Christ came wrapped in a baby, because that adds to it here. And he personally received this child. It is my hope, it's my prayer, it's my goal that every person in this room this Christmas would receive the Lord personally. Not through the eyes of your parents or because you're associated with church folks, or not even because you come to church. That's not it. You cannot receive God like we're talking about by proxy. It's a personal thing. I want you to come to the place like Thomas did, my Lord and my God. Made it personal. He didn't say, you are the Lord and you are God. He said, you're my Lord and you're my God. Not mama's God, not daddy's God. You are my God. A fifth observation, this is really the most important one. When you receive Jesus like Simeon, you're ready to die. You're ready to die. Now listen to me. I did not say when you receive Jesus, you're going to die. Okay, that's not what I said. I said you're ready to. Don't get panicky on me. But he says, okay, I'm ready to go. He says, now, Lord, in verse 29, thou dost let thy bondservant depart in peace according to thy word. Why? Why does he say that? I'm ready to go. For my eyes have seen thy salvation. Verse 30. The flip side of this truth is that if you haven't received the Messiah, you haven't received the Christ, you haven't received Jesus, you're not ready to go. You're not ready to die. But when you have, you are ready to go. I have seen, that's what Simeon says. I'm ready to go because I've seen God. You can take me on out of here. And I have seen him, and he is a gift worth receiving. He's a gift worth receiving. All right, put your notes away. We're not close to through preaching, but I got something I'll read. It's an excerpt from something that Harry Reasoner said about Christmas time on 60 Minutes one time. I know, I actually talked about it in a positive light many years ago. I'm going to read it to you. It's kind of long, but listen. 11 years ago, I did a little Christmas piece, and it seemed like a good idea to repeat it. The basis for this tremendous burst of buying things and gift buying and parties and near hysteria is a quiet event that happened that Christians believe actually happened a long time ago. You can say that in all societies there's always been a midwinter festival and that many of the trappings of our Christmas are almost violently pagan. But you come back to the central fact of the day, and the quietness of Christmas morning is the birth of God on earth. It leaves you with only three ways of accepting Christmas. One is cynically, as a time to make money and endorse the making of it. One is graciously. That's the appropriate attitude for the non-Christian who wish their fellow citizens all the joys which their beliefs entitle them. And third, of course, is to receive it reverently. If this is the anniversary of the appearance of the Lord of the universe in the form of a helpless babe, it's a very important day. It is a startling idea, of course. The whole story that a virgin was selected by God to bear his son in a way showing his love and his concern for man. It's my guess that in spite of all the lip service given to it, it's not an idea that has been popular with theologians. It is somehow an illogical idea, and theologians almost like logic as much as they like God. It's so revolutionary, a thought that probably could only come from God that is beyond logic and beyond theology. It's a magnificent appeal. Almost nobody has seen God, and almost nobody has any real idea of what he is like. And the truth is that among men, the idea of seeing God suddenly and standing in a very bright light is not necessarily a completely comforting or appealing idea. But every one of us has seen a baby. And almost every one of us liked them. If God wanted to be loved as well as feared, he moved correctly. For a baby growing up learns all about people. And if God wanted to be intimately a part of man, he moved correctly. For the experience of birth and familyhood is the most intimate and precious experience that any of us will ever get. So it comes beyond logic. It is either a falsehood or it's the truest thing in the world. It is the story of a great innocence of a God, the baby. God in power of man has such a dramatic shock toward the heart that if it's not true to Christians, then nothing's true. So if a person is touched only once a year, the touching is still worth it. And maybe on some giving Christmas, some final quiet morning, that touch will take. The touch of God coming into this world as a vulnerable baby. I want you to bow your head, okay? I'm going to pray, but then I want you to keep your head bowed, okay? God, you are such a marvelous, wise Father. Father, I know if we had been God, we would have come in power and splendor and greatness and awesomeness. But you're secure. You're God, and you didn't have to have all that. A secure God gets to come in a flesh of a newborn baby. Father, it amazes me that the God who created the world becomes helpless. You're a God who put the stars in their place and moved the planets to their orbit. And yet now you lay in a manger, totally dependent on a star to bring people to see you. God, there are a lot of reasons that I love you, and this is one of them, is that you're willing to become one of us. You're willing to become like me so that I could become like you. You're not just some God like a king aloof on a throne that just sends decrees, but Lord God, you come and you said, I will walk with them, I will live with them, I will die with them. And Father, somebody here needs to remember that you did all this while we were yet sinners. We weren't looking for you. We weren't wanting you. We were preoccupied with other stuff, but you came. And this morning, Lord, you're doing something in here, Lord, that's special, and that is that you're speaking to people that have been looking for you. That this morning you really become real to them. Up until this point, you've maybe just been a fact in their database. But this morning, Lord, you've become personal to them. So God, I thank you for that move. And I thank you for that touch. Now keep your heads bowed, guys. As you're in your seats this morning, if you don't know God in a personal way, you can receive him right now, okay? Receive him. Literally in your spirit. Every head's bowed and every just reach out and touch him. Let him be your God. Let him be your Savior. Let him be your comforter. Let him be your strength, your peace. But you got to receive him, okay? Just receive him. Say, Lord, I'm a sinner. I receive you, Lord, as my Lord. He's a gift worth receiving. I can promise you that. You can lift your eyes. We're going to stand. We're going to sing a hymn of invitation. I don't know what God's doing in your heart, and even if you're a visitor, it doesn't matter. You need to come talk to me. You need to get in this altar. Whatever it is, do it, okay?